Since 1970, winter is the fastest warming season for the majority of the U.S.
And this can have impacts on all our economy, agriculture, and even our overall health.
But what is causing this change, and what does it mean for West Michigan? The 13 on your side Weather Department is here to explain it all.
The difference between weather and climate is a measure of time. Weather refers to atmospheric conditions over a short period of time.
Climate is how the atmosphere trends over a long period of time.
Weather and climate have and always will fluctuate, but our climate trends are changing at an alarming rate.
And climate scientists agree that this change is impacting our winter season, leaving West Michigan on thin ice. Since record keeping began in 1973, ice coverage constantly varies from year to year, but there is one clear trend, and that's ice coverage is declining. In the last 50 years, maximum ice coverage across the Great Lakes has decreased by 22%, and areas that used to see 100% ice coverage have seen a 69% decrease. Take Lake Michigan, for example. Our 50-year average of ice coverage is 40%, but 6 of the last 10 seasons have shown below average ice coverage. So the question becomes, why is this happening? A decrease in ice coverage comes down to one clear thing: warming temperatures. Cold weather is a key ingredient for ice formation. Think of it like sticking a water bottle in a freezer, but only leaving it there for 15 minutes. The water might be colder, but not frozen. Over the last 50 years, Great Lakes region winter temperatures have warmed by 5% on average, and the season itself is seeing fewer days below 32 degrees, keeping our water temperatures warmer for longer, leading to a slower freeze, quicker thawing, more open water, and an increase in lake effect, leaving those who rely on frozen waters for recreation or income, quite literally, on thin ice. And Michael, you looked into the ways in which West Michigan is being impacted by our latest climate trends. What did you find?
Yeah, that's right, Sam. Changing climates can have more impacts than just warmer days and varying snow. These changes can have a direct impact on the pocketbooks and business plans of organizations here in West Michigan.
One of the most directly impacted areas of business in our state from warming winters is the outdoor winter recreation business. According to data provided from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, snow activities accounted for over $74 million in GDP for Michigan in 2021. But these businesses can boom or bust based on weather conditions. At Cannonsburg, they don't wait for Mother Nature anymore. They make snow whenever the weather cooperates. But machines can only get you so far if the temps refuse to fall.
Last year we weren't able to open before Christmas, but this year it looks like temps are dropping, so opening before Christmas is always the goal.
They've also adapted by adopting a year-round philosophy.
A lot of ski areas tend to close, I think, during the off-season, but we don't believe in the off-season. The land tier is so great, we just really want to offer it to the West Michigan community.
This isn't an option for everyone. In Grand Haven at Mulligan's Hollow, the slope is their bread and butter. And thankfully, the city helps cover some of the cost of warmer winters.
Electricity and water can be expensive. Luckily, we have a good partner with the city who owns this property and helps us out with a lot of things.
But again, Mother Nature has the final call.
Days closed by not being able to have enough snow is probably the big impact. If we get to Christmas break and we can't open and we can't have hundreds of kids out here, that's a big issue.
While the slopes can make their own snow, at Muskegon Luge Adventure Sports Park, their operations are completely tied to the natural stuff.
We have always lived and died by the weather, and some winters we would be lucky and capture 12 winter weekends, and some we wouldn't be so lucky and only have 4 or 5.
They work hard to preserve their snow and ice when things warm up, but they're also taking steps to diversify.
So in 2017, we came forward with a plan called Many Reasons for All Seasons, and we introduced that to the community and also to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and we were able to gain approval to build out year-round facilities here.
Speaking of the DNR, in an interview they told us snowmobile permits are falling as some choose to invest in more reliably available outdoor recreation options such as ORVs, which are seeing longer seasons as conditions warm. All of this is leading us to one conclusion. In order to preserve our favorite outdoor winter activities and areas of recreation, addressing and mitigating climate change is our only solution.
It's not just businesses in West Michigan that can feel the impacts of warming winters. Meteorologist Blake Hansen joins us now with more on how you can see those impacts in your own backyard.
Exactly, Michael. Our changing climate, including our warming winters, have created another problem, the rise of pest and invasive species here in West Michigan. It may not be clear in our day-to-day lives, but it's an issue that can have profound impacts to our landscape and health.
Michigan has become warmer. The Great Lakes region has become warmer.
As climate continues to change, its impact can be felt beyond the scope of the atmosphere.
The majority of that warming has come in the cold season, during the winter months, to a little bit lesser extent in the fall and the spring, and that's definitely related to, again, survivability of insects and other pests.
Introductions of invasive species are complex. Climate, however, can lead to survivability. One such species is the hemlock woolly adulgid.
It's a species that attacks our hemlock trees in Michigan, which are in many parts of the state are very, very important. These insects have migrated from the east. It's managing to survive, and the areas it's surviving in are those areas, the counties close to the lakeshore.
The insect is harmed by extreme cold of temperatures less than -4 degrees. Near the lakeshore, extreme cold of this magnitude is no longer a guarantee each winter.
So the concern for the future is, of course, that as the climate continues, or at least projected to warm even further, that the geographical spread of that insect, unfortunately, will probably occur into more interior areas of the state that were not under threat in the past.
Invasive species also include those that can impact humans.
We've seen an expansion of many of our disease-carrying tick populations in western Michigan, expanding both northward along Lake Michigan and then inland as well over the last 20 years.
While dormant in the winter, a shrinking cold season can alter the life cycle of ticks.
Another prediction that's being made is as climates continue to warm is that ticks will likely see alterations to their biological events that are occurring within their life cycle. So potentially earlier emergences, later periods of activity into the fall.
Climate projections of the future may give other invasive species a chance of survivability in places once not expected.
It's not just insects, it's also weeds, also disease pathogens that now have a little bit better ability to overwinter here in Michigan, and that was not the case again in decades past.
More reasoning to pay attention to our changing climate, as it could alter our landscape, our ecosystem, even our own health.
With all of this in mind, it's now time to focus on this winter and the expectations it will bring. Let's send things over to Chief Meteorologist George Lessons, who has this season's outlook.
Thanks, Blake. Every winter season is different, and forecasting what might happen presents its own challenges. Winter weather forecasting is like creating music. There's Beethoven, the Beatles, and Bruno Mars. You kind of know what you're going to get with each composer. This season's composer is La Niña. There's a 75% chance that it will last through February. And it's the third consecutive winter season influenced by La Niña, which has only happened 3 times since 1950. La Niña means cooler than average sea surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean along the equator west of South America. And that can lead to warm and dry weather over the southern U.S. and cool and wet conditions over the northern U.S. Sometimes a song's volume increases and decreases, in other words, gets louder and softer. In weather, that's the Madden-Julian oscillation. Over a period of 2 to 3 months, precipitation can increase and decrease. Currently, the MJO is in cold phase 8, but headed toward a warmer and wetter phase 6. Some tunes have a repeating segment of music, usually called a chorus. Weather also has repeating segments, like the North Atlantic and Arctic oscillations. Currently, both are forecast into the negative phase, meaning colder temperatures for a period of 1 to 2 weeks. How about musical tempo, whether a song is fast or slow? That's the polar vortex. When cold air is locked up at the pole, the weather patterns are slow and steady. But when the polar vortex gets stretched, the tempo speeds up and can spill that cold air into North America. Finally, the musical notes. That represents the daily weather, changing from day to day and week to week. And now, what might we expect this winter? I'm looking at near to colder than average temperatures with near to less than average snowfall.
No matter the season or the location, we are seeing impacts of climate change become more severe.
But it's not too late. There are things you can do today that will help our efforts to combat our evolving climate.
Simple things like saving energy at home, walking, biking, or carpooling to even eating more plant-based foods can help make a difference.
So join us in taking simple actions to tackle this climate crisis and help protect West Michigan.